So many of you might have heard that CNET had recently deleted a whole bunch of web pages on their website, and it became national news because Gizmodo kind of published an article detailing that they deleted several dozen or several hundred pages probably. No one knows exactly how many pages were deleted, but Gizmodo said that it was a significant number of pages that were deleted, and they were deleted for SEO purposes. Now, I've got so many people that have emailed me over the past day because this is breaking news. And they've been asking me, is deleting old web pages from your website, is it harmful for SEO? Is it good for SEO? Now I'm going to go over this and unpack this for you guys so that you can decide if it's a good idea for your site, because this will vary a lot. And I'm going to say right up front, I'm conservative about this. I don't really think that your first approach should be to delete an old page, and I'll go over why that's the case. Now, Gizmodo and CNET, I know Gizmodo has an SEO team, and I know that CNET also has an SEO team, and they have a very good SEO team that work very hard on ranking CNET's website. And so if they decided to delete a whole bunch of pages, it wasn't because they tossed a coin and decided, let's delete these pages. There was something behind it, and that's something I'm going to go over in this video. The thought process behind this, and I know some of the guys who work at CNET in their SEO division, and so I have kind of like an insight on how they work. But before I do, just want to say I also offer SEO services for a living. There's a link in the description. You can click the link, fill out the form, and I'll get in touch with you, whether you want to consult with me, whether you need a topical map done for your website, or if you just need a website audit. Everything is on my website. You can buy it directly, or you can fill out the form and just get in touch with me directly. So Google has officially said that deleting old pages, and this is a quote from them, deleting old content just because it's old isn't beneficial for SEO. However, pruning content can be helpful when done right. Now, I don't know what's the difference. Deleting content means that you're also pruning content. But I think the distinction between the two, at least in Google's mind, is that if you have old content that's not really going anywhere, or it's just old because, let's say you wrote an article about the Nokia 3305, I think it was, back in 2004 or 2005, and now that's a discontinued product. You have that article hanging around on your website. Deleting that is not good for SEO. But if you have an article that's, let's say, about the iPhone 7, and that is doing pretty well, but then you also have an article about the iPhone 14, and they're kind of competing for SERPs, so you're like, okay, since the 14 is the most relevant one, I'm just going to delete the older one, since a lot of the traffic that goes through the old one doesn't really have any effect. So you delete the old page and you redirect it to the new page. In my eyes, they're both perfectly fine for SEO and SEO purposes, but this is where Google's misinformation comes in. They've got this whole misinformation machine, and Google has said this. So thousands of articles were deleted in recent weeks. CNET declined to provide an exact number according to Gizmodo. So yeah, this is a quote from Gizmodo, sorry. So CNET confirmed the content culling. CNET decided which pages to redirect, repurpose, or remove, depreciate by looking at metrics such as page views, backlink profiles, amount of time passed since the last update. So this is something that I talked about. So they're looking at what pages are not getting enough traffic, or they're just outdated to the point where they're not useful anymore. So clearly CNET needs better advice. Okay, so the first thing Google is saying that if you're deleting old content is not good for SEO. It is good for SEO if it's done right, because if you have competing pages and they're ranking just because they're older pages or they're more established pages, and they're ranking above pages that are newer but they're more relevant, then deleting and redirecting the old page redirects to link juice from those old pages to the new pages and helps them rank higher. And the reason Google doesn't want you to know that is because Google doesn't want you to rank. Google doesn't want you to do SEO. Remember, Google is against SEO. Google is against manipulating rankings. So deleting this kind of content and redirecting it is manipulating rankings because you're sending a signal to the algorithm. Now, this also shows that it works, which is why Google is so concerned about this, because they wouldn't even talk about something like that if it didn't work. And it's definitely working for CNET. Try searching for iPhone 14 review, try searching for Roomba review, try searching for, even something much older like, I don't know, a PlayStation 4 review, and CNET will come up. And so this is something that is obviously Google is not very happy about it. So removing content is not a decision CNET takes lightly. That's what Taylor Canada, CNET Senior Director of Marketing Communications, told Gizmodo. And so they're just going over the points, and I'll link to the article from Gizmodo. So you can go to Gizmodo and read the entire article. But the second thing you want to keep in mind is Danny Sullivan from Google. Now this is interesting because he's a search liaison account on X, formerly Twitter, and he says, are you deleting content from your site because you somehow believe Google doesn't like old content? That's not a thing. Our guidance doesn't discourage this. Older content can still be useful too. So you see, this is a very vague statement, because older content can also be confusing content. It can also be content that's not relevant anymore. And so deleting the content is perfectly okay, and they hint to that being perfectly okay. But there are situations where deleting it is not okay, which I'll go into towards the end of the video. This page itself is likely to rank well. Removing it means a massive hit to the site. We're better able to crawl other content on the site, but it doesn't mean we go, oh, now that the whole site is so much better because of what happened with the individual page. But then you need to keep in mind that Google, alongside this statement that they're giving out, because obviously this is manipulating search rankings, after the launch of Google Panda, there was a Googler that put this advice out, and he said that in addition, it's important for webmasters to know that low quality content on part of the site can impact the site's ranking as a whole. For this reason, if you believe you've been impacted by this change, you should evaluate all content on your site and do the best to improve the overall quality of the pages on your domain. Removing low quality pages or moving them to a different domain could help your rankings or higher quality content. So if you have higher quality content, remove lower quality content. So obviously in this case, it makes sense. And this was a quote from 2011. And so if you have older or low quality content, you're perfectly okay to remove it. CNET has been around for 25 years. So obviously they have a whole bunch of old content, which I support that they should remove. Now, there are instances, as I said earlier, where you shouldn't do this. Now, if you have an older article that can be refreshed, do that. That should be your first priority. Number one, refresh an old article, because that will rank very well, because it's already established. And even if it's not ranking very well anymore, if you just add the latest information to that article, you update it, it will shoot back right up to where it was before it dropped. So that's the first thing. The second thing is if an article is still relevant. So if it's still relevant today, but it's sort of become old, so it's not ranking very well, but all the information on that article is perfectly fine, don't delete the article. Keep the article on there. In fact, put it through Surfer SEO, refresh it, or phrase or refresh that article. I have a video about how to do that. Just do that, republish it, and you're good to go. It'll start ranking again. Third thing is, if you have an article, that's kind of not very well written, the information is okay, but it's not really well written. You probably hired someone to do it and they didn't do a really good job. Improve the content of that article, improve the article, and put it through, through good editing, improve the article, improve the grammar, structure, everything, make it more readable, republish it, and it'll do very well. That's kind of like a guarantee. If you, it's very obvious it'll do well. And so what I try to do is I try to do these three things before I decide to delete an article. You should only delete older content if A, the content is no longer relevant, so updating the article is no point to it. If the older article is outranking the newer article, which is more relevant, which happens a lot when you have a larger site like CNET, then the older article should be deleted and should be redirected to the latest article. So people will have a good experience, because when they're searching for that older product or that older article, they will be redirected to the latest article, and that is something which is seen as having a good experience. You're also going to literally increase your traffic overnight. The third reason why you should, and the third instance, I guess, where you should delete older articles is if you run a news site. Now, the news cycle kind of changes every time, and what's relevant today is not going to be relevant a week from today. But you shouldn't delete week-long articles on your news site, mainly because it's Google is still indexing them. You're still getting traffic. But you have an article from, let's say, 13 years ago, news articles from 20 years ago, those can easily be archived. So I wouldn't even say delete them, but they can be archived. So put them in a different folder, give them, put them under like an archive thing, archive them by date. So if someone is searching for them, they know where to go for it. So again, you're not necessarily deleting them, but they're kind of being pushed away so that Google focuses on your latest news articles. So that's how I would do it, and I think that's what CNET's SEO team is doing, and that is what they've always been doing. It's just like Gizmodo has published this article, and it's blown up sort of. So if you have a question, leave a comment below, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.